Okay, so in our previous video, we're building this Tetris game from scratch. So this is the part 2. So if this is your first time watching this video, this is our Tetris game we're building. So if you miss the part 2, I'm going to put the link in the description for you to watch the part 2 as well. So this is our Tetris game what we are building now. So we are supposed to build this. So this is working perfectly. You can rotate. It also works. You can move to new levels and all that. So this is what we are working on. And this is the part 2 of this. So once again, if you missed the part 1, I'm going to put the link in the description for you to watch the part 1, then get back to what the part 2. So in the part 1, this is where we've gotten to. So without wasting much time, I'm quickly going to continue from right where we stopped. So here I'm going to create another function to here as well. So let's define here move piece. So let's give it a parameter self. There is dy. Okay. Okay, so let me just explain this quickly here. So this function is, I would say, the heart of moving the Tetris pieces, maybe left, right, or down on the game grid. So let's say if a one classic like L shape or maybe the square shape that we've already done above here. So if you join us, you notice that what from the part 1 we did all these shapes here, the L shape, the square shape, and all that here. So what we are now saying here is if maybe a classic L shape or any of the shapes sliding across or falling down on the grid, this method will handle that movement. So it's just handling the movement falling down from the grid. So let's say if it does change, it will you realize that in the function here we have the ds parameter. So we have the ds and our dy parameter. So the ds change in the x coordinates, then also horizontal movement, and then dy changing y coordinates, and also the vertical movement too as well. So that's basically what you are trying to do here. So now right under this, I'm also going to go ahead and also create the rotate function. So let's just come right below this. Then because whilst it's falling down, we also want to be able to rotate the pieces falling down as well. So let's create the function for that. So we say rotate piece function. Then I'll give it the self parameter, sorry. So rotate piece self. Then we'll say new rotation. So let's come up here. I'm going to scroll up here, then copy this terminus here. So just put it here. So inside we also have a list that we need to assign to this. So we just say self dot current so we just say self dot current piece dot shape also. So it will pick it in the list form. So right down here, we'll say if let me get the is valid here. So if is valid, then we can say self dot current piece. Do you have it here? Right here. So self dot current piece. Then we'll go rotation. Then we'll say new rotation. Okay. So inside there we just say self dot current piece again. And just copy paste here. I think copy it all. Okay, so self dot current piece dot rotation. Now we'll assign it to the new rotation. So this function basically lets the players rotate their Tetris piece. So like spinning maybe the T shape. Like in a demo, you see how you can spin the T shape or square shape to fit into tight spots. So that's basically what we are doing here. So the self dot current piece dot rotation here, for instance, plus the one, and then we are using the where is it? It's right here. We are using the modulo here to cycle through the possible rotations that will store inside the self dot current piece shape right here. So that's basically what we are doing here, which is there. So right here, then I'm also going to come here and also have another function for the dropping of the shape as well. So we can say, let me give a space between so the code looks cleaner. So let's say self dot drop piece. So we say I'll give you the self parameter. Then we'll say what if not So at the end, we just say return true right here. Okay, so the drop piece function also here will handle the automatic falling of the pieces and what happens when they can't fall anymore. So this is basically all it's happening. So this will try and move the piece down one row, which is what the dy that was assigned here. The dy assigned to 1. So maybe dy is equal to 1, that's one row. So if the move is not valid, then the piece will hit the bottom of another piece. So then that means it will lock the piece in a place piece. So let's then do that place piece here. So now let's also do another function here for hard drop. So we also define hard drop. So define hard drop. Then let's use the while loop. So self move piece, the coordinate 0, 1. Then we just call our self the score. Okay, so right here, so this, so meaning this what repeatedly call the move piece. So we see we have the coordinate 0, 1 here to move the piece down until it can't anymore, adding 2 points to the score for each row when it drops. So then that's at the other end too, you can also do update. So when it drops, you just update it to update it as you want. So let's create another function called update. I also give self parameter dt parameter. Yeah. So self dot for time. So then right here we also say return true here, which is for the update. So this function right here is the game's, maybe I'll say what word should I use? Okay, so we can say this is the game's heartbeat. So in this line, so you can see we're saying was self dot for time here. So this will check if enough time has passed. Okay, then we also have this side if, which is the if function right here. So for example, if it check whether the time has passed and it's true as it won, then it will reset the timer, then it will call the drop piece to move the piece down. Then it will also return true for us if the game continues. False, then if the game is what over. So it will return false if the game is over, which is also what we have here. So now what we have to do is, let me just come down here. So let's define the draw grid. How do I spell draw grid? I hope I spell it well. It will give you the parameter of screen. Yeah. So you can see for X in range, so grid width, let's get the grid width. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? It's right here. So I just copy grid width. So in range, grid width 1 plus 1. So let's say then Pygame, draw line. Then we also call our gray color variable there. So let me just come here. Then in here, I also have this. Okay, so let's look at our variables. Let me look. Where is this thing? Okay, it's right here. So grid X offset. So grid, what is it? What is this? Come down right here. So grid as offset. So plus X. We say cell size, which is also one of the, we've also defined everything. So we have all the variables defined from the beginning. So anytime I call this variable, we are right here. So the cell size is also there. You are calling the cell size. Yeah. Then we also have the grid. Let me make sure I have it here. Grid Y offset. Okay, it's also here. So grid Y offset. So cell side, comma, grid Y offset. So right inside, I just put comma here. Then I also come below. So let me just copy the whole of this again and paste here. So say grid S offset plus X. Then cell size. So grid Y offset. Then right here, we also say plus grid height, which we also have the grid height. I hope I spelled it right. Let me just copy. Grid height. Where are you? Okay, so right here. So grid height. Grid height. Then we have our cell size again. So we just remove the comma here. Our cell size again. Okay, so right here, we have another for loop here. So say for also Y. And so let me just copy all this. We just edit it so we don't have to type. So this will be for Y in range grid height. So grid height here will be for the height. Okay, then we'll say Pygame dot draw line. We have the screen here, gray as well, which is okay. Then grid S offset grid as offset. Let's take this. We don't need this again. So here's a comma. So grid as offset. Then we'll have grid. And let's copy this. Let's take this here first. So grid as offset, comma grid y offset. So at this side before we have the plus y, the cell size. Okay, so let's just copy all this and replace it with just this. So basically we have grid x offset, then this will be grid width. So grid as offset, then grid. This should be plus, not comma. So grid x offset plus grid width. I hope I spelled this right. Plus cell size. So let me take this off. Plus we have our cell size. Then after the cell size, let me just take the whole thing off. So grid S offset, grid width, cell size. Then we have our grid Y offset as well. Grid Y offset. I'll be right. I spell it like grid Y offset. Okay. So then from here we can say plus Y, then cell size. Okay, this function draws the Tetris grid, so it will give the players a clear play field. So when we launch the app, you see that grid drawn there, that box, like that box drawn. That is the grid. So it will give you clear play field, so makes it easy to spot the game. So basically, what you are trying to do is you are looping the. So basically, we'll loop through the grids width and height, drawing vertical and horizontal lines using the Pygame draw line here. Then the grid X offset and the grid Y offset with each cell size. Then by the cell size that we provided here, you can see you have the cell size of each of them here. So that is basically all we are doing here. So the next thing we'll have to do now is then we'll define draw cell. So we are drawing the cells basically in each of the grid here. So we also say give it the screen parameter x, y, then the color we want. So right here, you just say red Pygame dot red. So let me just copy this. Grid x offset plus x. Then we'll have the cell size. So grid x offset plus x, then the cell size, then plus 1 as well. Then we'll have the comma here. Then we'll also have the grid y offset. And just copy this. So grid y offset. Let me just push this thing down to, so the code looks cleaner before. Let's also do same here. So the code looks a little neat. So it looks like this is embedded in this. We can also do same here. Here too as well. Okay, so now our code looks more clean. Okay, so grid y offset. After the grid y offset, we'll have the y, then cell size again. We'll have the cell size. So we also have cell size here. So let's come here on identity here. Maybe we just say Pygame. Then we'll have draw dot rect. Our screen, our color, and our rect here. Then let's come down. It will also say draw piece. So this should be draw piece, not the next piece. So draw piece, we say screen. Then we'll finally have our piece, our font. So I think let's only keep, we don't need font here. So we'll have only the screen, the draw piece, we have the screen and the piece. So right inside this function, we just say for x y in piece dot get cells. So we say if y greater or equal to 0, then we'll say draw cell screen x y. Then we'll have our piece dot color. Okay. Then right under here, let's also draw the next piece. So we'll define function here as well. We say draw next piece. Draw next piece, you have screen, you have the piece, you have the font right here. Let me just lay this. Okay. So we say next test. So basically next test, we'll have our font spelled this way, font dots. Let's render the font. So basically, let me just put So this is basically going to show us our next block that will be coming. True. That will give it white. White. Alright. So next true, then white. So we can now come here again and say screen dot blit. You have next test. $400, 100. Then we'll come by here, say shape. You give you piece. Piece dot gets rotated shape. So you're assigning the shape to piece dot get rotated shape. So for row and enumerate. Shape for J cell for J cell in enumerate. This enumerate is spelled wrongly. Let me correct it. So in enumerate row, so if cell again, here we'll say ret Pygame dot ret or 400 let's remove the comma here. So 400 plus J, we say by 20, 130. So we say plus. So 400 by J by 20, 130, then plus. And by 20, 18, then 18. So 130 plus I, then by 20, by 18, then 18. I think this should work. So come here, say Pygame dot draw dot ret. Pygame dot draw dot ret. We have the screen parameter piece dot color, then rects. So this draws the shape in a fixed position with what x is equal to 400, y is equal to what 130, using the smaller 18 by 18 squares that we've done, which we remember we draw some cells here, which will leave us the 18 by 18 square there. So that's basically what you mean here. So it will just display. So in the Tetris game, when I let you see that what it will always tell you the next shape before it comes. So you are aware of the next shape that is coming. So that is all that we are doing here. So now let's do the stats right from here. So let's come down here. So we can define draw stats. Also give a screen parameter game, then font. So say score test. So score test, you have font.render. Okay, so this basically will display the stats on the screen for us. So it will display the stats for the score, the stats for the lines, the stats for the level, each level that we play on the screen. So that's basically all this function is about here. So we just assign white color to each score being displayed. So that's all we are doing here. Then now let's make a function for the game over as well. So we will be aware when there is a game over. So we say draw game over. So you can say game over test. So let me just copy any of this. Game over test font no render. So let's just take the whole of this. On the render, we can just say straightforward game over. Then we'll come here. True. They will assign the red color to it. So all these colors, we've defined them already. So we are just reusing the redefine. Then let's also make a variable restart test. Just copy this. So font.render. You can say press R to restart. Press R to restart. We'll say true, but this one will be white. Okay, let's duplicate this. Then we'll change this to quit test. So quit test. So this one font.render. You can also say press Q to quit. They're true. So we can also maintain red here. So let me just come here. We can say screen .bleed. Just call our game over test here. They will give it a coordinates for 200 by 300. Okay, let's duplicate this. This one will be for the restart test. This should be 180 by 340. We'll have one more. This will be for quit test. So, and this should be 200 by 370. Okay, so now let's go ahead and define this main function here. So we just put everything on the main so we can be able to run our app and see what we have. So let's come down here and define our main window. So main okay. Our screen dot, there should be screen. We are using Pygame as our window. So Pygame dot display dot set mode screen, then Pygame dot display dot set mode. So we'll give it a coordinate of 600 tamando 600 by 700. Okay. So Pygame dot display dot set caption. So we'll give it a caption Tetris. Okay. Then let's also make a clock. Pygame dot time dot clock. So the clock should be uppercase C. Otherwise, we'll get trouble with Pygame. So Pygame dot time dot clock. Now it's a font. Here we go. So Pygame dot font. Our font. So we can say none and we'll give it a 36 coordinate. So we'll now come down here. So game now is Tetris. So the Tetris, you can say game over. We'll call our game over here. Will be false. So let's do some loop here. While loop here. So while true dt, which we've done already. Come on, dt clock. Dot tick. This should be state. Then you can say for event in Pygame but event dot get let's put this here. So if event dot type, this is not function equivalent to Pygame. I'll spell it right. Pygame dot quit. You can also say Pygame. Pygame. Okay. Dot quit. So this will exit. So system dot exit. So let's come here again and give it another key function. So if event dot type also equivalent to Pygame dot key down. Pygame dot key down. So we can say if game over. So if game over. If game over. If event game over and if event dot key equivalent to Pygame dot key out. Game assigned to Tetris. Game assigned to Tetris. We have game over. So we'll say game assigned to Tetris. Game over assigned to Force. So right here, we are going to come to okay, so right under the for, you are still right under the for loop here. If you come right exactly under the for loop, which is here, let me make sure I get it right. So for loop should be here. Let's make sure right under the for loop. Okay, so that's the place. So we'll have an if function here again. So if not game over, only one space, one line of space. If not game over, then we can say if not game dot update. You have our date here. We can say game over it will be true. So right under the if again, we want to draw everything. So we can just say screen dot fill. Then we'll have black. Then draw grid also will come here. Which will be the screen. So you want to also draw the placed pieces. So we say for y in range. Which is grid height. For y in range, which is the grid height. You can also say for x in range. This is also the grid width. For x in range, it should be the grid width. We'll just say if game.grade we'll have draw cell screen x y game.grade. I'll just copy this. Alright. So right under this, we'll just come here again. Say if not game over. I think I already have this here. Then we'll also draw our current pieces. Okay. So you also want to draw controls. So meaning on our game screen, we also have like a control that will just tell people, just guide people, more like a manual as to how the controls of the game work. So you can just say controls. So we can do some indication. We have move, soft drop, soft drop, and then rotate. You can also have space, hard drop. Okay, so let's get some emojis that will represent this. So for example, the move, if you are using Windows, you can use Windows plus the period key to access the emojis. So let's look for the best emoji to represent move. I think I will look for the arrow with the opposite direction. I hope I get some. Okay, I think I'll go for this and this. So this should be for the move. Let me not leave space here. Then the soft drop, we can just use the arrow that goes down. So which this, let me pick this. Okay, so I just use the one that goes up for the rotate. Okay, so this is basically to give people a guide of the controls of the app. It's just like giving people the manual of how the game works. So let's finally put here for I control in controlling and rate I controlling. I hope I spelled this right. Controls. We have color. White. If I 0 else gray. Now let's use control test. Which is a Pygame dot font. Can set none to this. 24 coordinate. Can say dot render. Then in here we can just say control, give it true, then also color. So we just come here and say screen dot bleed. You can say control test. So let's give it a coordinate of 400 by 530. It should be plus I, then by 25. So we'll just go ahead. Let me reduce the space here. So we'll just go ahead and say Pygame dot display dot flip. Okay, so let's launch this. Let's say we launch and see what we have. So we have an error here in line. Says the main. Okay, so let's look at it. If name is main, okay, I think that we have double quotes here, which is wrong. So I'll just take, it should be double quote, not at the end here. So I'll save this and run again. And there we go. You also have another error at line 350. Tetris object has no attribute update. So line 350 has no attribute update. What does that mean? So let's say game.handdraw. So if not, game over. You can say if not, game.update. Then game over is for true. So let's look for the update. Okay, so I think we have the update function here, but they are probably indentation error, I think, here. So let's unindent the update and the hard drop. So shift tab to unindent it 1. And also the drop piece also, we also have to unindent it 1 as well. Then the move piece. So the rotate and the move piece also shift tab if you are using Visual Studio Code to also unindent it once as well. Then when it comes to the whole of what do we have? Okay, the clear. I think the clear, that's it. Should be this way. Okay, so let's run it again and see. So another error on line 150. Line 150. Let's go to line 150 here. Let me run and see what error they are telling me at line 150. So they are saying self is not defined. They're doing it self. So where is it? the word self. Okay, I misspelled self here. So it should be self with the L. Okay, so now let's run again. Another error again. So what line again is this? Line 150 again. So they are still saying the Trumino object has no attribute rotation. The Trumino has no attribute rotation. Let me look at this. So the Trumino def define init. So we define init. We have the self attribute shape attribute. Okay, so I think we need a rotation attribute also here. So self, let's give this a rotation. So self the rotation. Also assign it to 0. Okay, let's run it again and see. There we go. Another error. On line 279. Line 279. Let's get to line 279 here. So let me run the code and look at the error for line 279. So that error, XY cannot unpack non-tribal int objects. Let's look at what is wrong. So we define draw piece, screen piece, then we say for X, then Y, in piece, then maybe dot get cells. So if Y greater equal 0, then we can draw cell now. So if we draw cell, we have screen parameter, XY parameter. Then we have our piece dot color. Piece dot color. So what's the error here? Let me run again. Sometimes maybe the error may not even be on the same line. So 279 for X and Y in piece cells. Type error cannot unpack this. Okay, let me run it once again. Get XY, get cells. So 279 get cells. Okay, so let's look for the get cells function. Get cells should be up somewhere. Okay, so we have our get cells. I don't think this is it. Okay, should be here. So for where does it start from? Here, new piece is valid. So for X, and so this line 1 for X in so for X, Y in piece dot get cells, which is all right. X plus or dx, X plus, so Y plus equal to dy, which is okay. If less than or 0, that is if X less than 0. I think this is wrong. If X less than 0, it should be or X. So if X less than or equal to 0 or X greater than or equal to grid width, or Y greater than or equal to grid height, or Y greater than or equal to 0 and self grid y x is not equal to black, then piece dot rotation, temp rotation, return false. Okay, so let's run it again and see. Another error, still 279. Again, so still the get cells. So let's make sure. So this is perfectly okay. It's not equal to black, grid y. So let's look at the place piece. X, Y, and piece dot get cells if y greater than equal to 0, then piece dot color is also fine. So end of rotation. So get cells. What is get cells again? Okay, so let's look at the get cells function itself. So cells are assigned to enter the shape. Cell dot get rotated shape. So for I in row in the number shape, for J cell in no row, if cell is this, then cells append self dot x plus self. So okay, there's something also wrong here. So self dot x plus, it should be plus j comma self dot y plus I. There will be 10 cells. Okay, I think the problem should be fixed. Let's run it again and see. Another error. Oh my god. So line 381. Line 381. Boolean. Line 381 says this should be Boolean. Let's go to line 381. Line 381. Look at the error again. So pygame.phone attribute error. So it's actually attribute error. Let's look at where it's coming from. So for I, controlling and weight controls, which is okay. Colored white if I is equivalent to 0, else gray, which is also okay. Control test assigned to pygame.font, which is also okay. None 24.render control true and color. Okay, so here supposed to be comma, not dot. Okay, so let's run again. Finally, we have it by okay, but there's something wrong somewhere. Okay. Yeah, but there's something not right somewhere. Okay, so let's look at it and fix it. Hello from. Okay, so what should be the problem? The lines. So let's look at lines. Let's look at anything lines. Clear lines. Let's look at clear lines first. Clear lines here. Lines cleared. Okay, so let's look at clear lines. Lines to clear for y in range if or for okay. I think the indentation of this is wrong. So Shift Tab, this should be indented right under this. Then for lines, cleared. So this also should be undented. Then the scoring system as well should also be unindented like this. Okay, so let's run it again and see. We're still not there. Okay, so let's look for anything lines again. Go to drop piece. So clear lines, place piece. Okay, this should be next piece, not next piece. Okay, so if it's not self valid, self the current piece, force piece. So the next should be, let's go to draw grid. So on draw grid, yep, we have the y, x, draw grid x offset, cell size, grid y, grid height, cell size, grid x offset, grid y offset, y, cell size, grid x offset. We have grid width, cell size, grid y offset. Okay, so I think this should be by not plus. Okay, so let's launch it again and see. Okay, so this looks better now. Okay, but the problem is the services now, which is this course here. So we probably should go to the cell stats. Okay, this is stats. So we have screen, game font, then the score text, then score, which is okay. You have the game, this is also okay. Okay, so this should be like 330. This also should be like 360. Okay, so let's run it again and see. So we can rotate this. Let's take this. Let's go again this way. And let's go this way. I think this should come here. This should also. This should come here. So just making sure everything works. Okay, so the level changes, well, meaning the level also works. So we have the line also works. So the score also works. Now let's see if the game over also works. We see the game over also works. So we are still in level 1. because if not, all right, and go again. So game over works. So press R to restart. So if you press R, it will restart, which works also as well. Okay, so this works for me, and I hope hopefully works for you too as well. So if you have any problem, can just let me know. So I'll just help you fix it. So we can see my side is working perfectly now. The levels are working. How many blocks? These are 4, so they should come here. So level 3. So we can see everything working here. Oh, damn. Okay. So that's it, guys. So we can see we have a fully working Tetris game. Very functional. And everything is okay now. So if you joined this video, thank you for watching this video to the end. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and also drop your comment if you have any errors or if you are facing any issues so I can help you solve it. And what? Stay tuned for more video like this. See you in another video. Thank you, guys.